It's not on yet. It's on now. Welcome everyone to the Town of Wells Planning Board meeting for Monday, October 20th. The first item for discussion this evening will be to review the minutes of October 6th. Did anyone have any questions, corrections, additions, or deletions to page 1, 2, 3? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? That is unanimous. The next item this evening will be public hearings. How we conduct our public hearings is we allow the applicant to come forward, tell the board, the people in the audience and the people at home what they propose to do. Once the applicant is done with their proposal, you have the opportunity to question the applicant through the board. Once the public hearing is closed, there's no further comment from the public. This evening, you can correspond with the Office of Planning and Development. So the first public hearing is Mia Lane subdivision. The representative here, and for the record, Steve is stepping off. There's a couple chairs up front if someone would like a seat. There's, I think, at least one. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'd like to tell everybody who you are and what your proposal is, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Mike Sudak, Attar Engineering, here on behalf of Gilchrist Development. And yeah, general overview for the board and the public here tonight. Thank you, Mike, for having this up on the board.
We
So-
have a new screen, which is much more friendly.
Okay. Both screens are up and working. So the proposal, this is our final public hearing. Preliminary was, I believe, back at the end of last year. This one's been in front of the board for a while. Proposal is to turn the 3.5 acre parcel into a multifamily condominium, 6 dwelling units, a small private road, about 550 feet in length. And yeah, besides that, contemplations that we're here in front of for the planning board, force main connection to the gravity sewer that's out in Burnt Mill Road, private individual drilled wells, on-site stormwater, no wetland impacts. I think that's really it for the overview. We're gonna get into it further in workshop, but besides that, I can entertain any questions that the public may have. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from anyone in the public for the subdivision? If so, please come to the podium, state your name and ask your questions. And don't be shy if you want to get up and ask a question. Because once the public hearing is closed, you will not have the opportunity.
You want to speak
Right up to the podium,
at the
please.
podium? Thank you.
Please tell everybody who you are for the record.
Thank you. Thank you for having this meeting this evening. It's appreciated. My name is Jean Hill, and I'm a resident of 64 Autumn Lane in Wells. I have comments and concerns, and I will read them. Given the ongoing and worsening impact of our more frequent and intense storm events, it is critical that the hydroclad model function as intended. This is not a maintenance-free answer to storm and wetland. In the letter of 9/2/25 from Utah Engineering, page 2, about a comment states, "This is the lowest upland point to abutting analysis, point 2, which is received by the culvert crossing of Autumn Lane. Emptying into the culvert at 64 Autumn Lane on private property. Concerned that overall increased runoff, leaving the property exposed to future unmodeled rain events. Concern for the waivers request for off-site protection be allowed. Proposed protection to be serviced by on-site private drilled wells, existing hydrant from Burnt Mill and Post Roads, approximately 1,760 feet this is from the application memo on page 4, and suggesting that 10 feet away, a private hydrant on Autumn Lane, Sea Orchard HEO, could be utilized. This is a private hydrant. It is for the residents of Old Sea Orchard HOA. Quarterly fees are paid and maintained by Sea Orchard. Wilmea Lane condo plow, shovel, access to this hydrant, contribute to quarterly fees, maintenance and annual inspection, obstruction, removal, repairs, and liability to the Sea Orchard HOA private hydrant. Will Sea Orchard HOA, Autumn Lane, continually be responsible for winter maintenance? If the fire department hooks up to this hydrant for Mia Lane condo for a fire, and this private hydrant is needed for Sea Orchard HOA for a fire, who will make that decision? Will the sharing of private hydrants for fire protection become a common practice for the future development of wells? Another comment I have and a concern is the short-term rentals and accessory dwelling units should be denied due to the complexities of the hydroclad system, and fire protection limitations. All retention ponds, swales, and level lip spreaders should be grassed, not stone-filled. Grass will have a more aesthetic appearance, lowering odor, control wildlife inhabitants, and mosquito breeding. And lastly, an irrigation system should be installed by this development to maintain the evergreen shrubs and grass plantings. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any comments from any other members of the audience? Would you like to answer some of her questions, please, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Hill, for attending this evening, for providing her comment. I remember her comments from back at our site walk back quite a while ago, so yeah, I'll respond in order, and without going too far into the weeds on stormwater. This has been probably the biggest point of contention on the site, and thank you, Mike, you're leading me on here. So yeah, without going too far in the weeds, please give me the hook if I'm putting you to sleep.
Please don't.
Yes, the site as it's existing out there right now, that line that's cutting right through the middle of the property, it's flat as heck if you guys remember it out there, but effectively the site drains almost perfectly in half. Left side of the, or right side of the page where Mike's cursor is goes towards the Landings development, towards Post Road. The left-hand side of the development goes towards that culverted crossing that Ms. Hill referenced beneath Autumn Lane. So that's the existing condition, and we're required by town and state standards to reduce the runoff relative to that existing condition. So what you see here is our developed state. This is a series of roadside swales, rear yard swales behind the buildings, and then one detention pond that's on that lowest point of upland that Ms. Hill referenced, and that's closest to that culverted crossing. So that's where all of the runoff that's collected from this development ends up. It's detained there. It daylights to a level lip spreader that attenuates the flows before it reaches that culverted crossing. So all of the infrastructure that we're constructing is what provides our peak runoff reductions to Autumn Lane, and then the Landings itself gets its reductions just by virtue of all of the water that was going there is being directed elsewhere. So both analysis points, every storm event, we're getting peak runoff reductions across the board. And there's a review memo from Mike in your packet. He's reviewed everything. He's signed off that it's to the town's standards. So that's what I have to say on the stormwater side. Regarding the other comments, for the offsite water protection and the autumn lane hydrant. The autumn lane hydrant specifically, its location, I believe, was requested just to be depicted on the plan from the staff review committee meeting from the fire chief. We're not proposing to have an access easement or anything of the sort. It just wanted to be located on the plan, just its proximity. I can't speak for the fire department, what they will or won't use, but that waiver we're requesting this evening, just because of the scale of development and the proximity of fire protection sources within a mile. So that's something that we're gonna get into later on in workshop. And the last one regarding an irrigation system, yeah, I don't think I'm opposed to having something to that effect. That'll go along with our waiver considerations, since we're pursuing on-site drilled wells here, but there is a decent amount of vegetation that goes in with all of our screening and buffering, so yeah, I'm agreeable to the suggestion. We have a very, very, very shallow water table here, so probably have to be a heavy irrigation system, but yeah, I don't have a problem with that request. And I believe that's all of the comments.
Thank you.
About auxiliary dwelling units and short-term rentals as well.
Yeah, the right, accessory dwelling units, I can get into further when we go into workshop, but I know there's some language that's in front of you guys right now or in front of the November vote, so you know, we're gonna have to comply with that, just whether it's a dwelling unit standard or a lot standard. So Mike's made some suggestions and we'll comply with that.
Any other comments or questions from anyone in the audience? Any members of the board have any other comments?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor? That is unanimous. This public hearing is now closed. We will workshop this later this evening. You're more than welcome to stay if you would like to listen, or you can go home and watch it.
Thanks for leading me through.
The next item on the agenda this evening will be site walks. And the first site walk review would be the Holiday House. Mike, did you have comments for us on this? And I believe their applicant is here.
Good evening, Jeff Oliva, Civil Consultants, representing the Holiday House for this site plan, I guess, amendment.
We had conducted a site walk this past Saturday at 8 AM. It was about 48 degrees and sunny. 3 board members were present. The applicant's consultant, Jeff Oliva, was present as well. We had the condominium resident and at least 2 other condo members were there as well. And myself, there were no abutters attending the site walk. The property appeared well maintained. The utility installation to Old County Road was observed and looked at, and it looked like the buffer had minimal impact. And there was a statement that there was a path there in the past, and along the utility line installation area, it looks like it makes a nice path for the future too, which can be allowed within a buffer area. Comment was made about the invasive species. In that area, there was a lot of honeysuckle and other vines that looked like would start choking out the trees. And so to maintain that buffer, the invasive species should be managed and removed. We walked around the site and up the various access roads. The access road to unit C7 and C10 was narrow and ended in a dead end. There were also some limbs from the abutting trees on the north side that encroached further into the travelway, so those should be trimmed back. For emergency access purposes, at the end of that road, it was looked at to maybe provide emergency access across the grassed area, across the middle of the site. In the past, I guess that was utilized to respond to a situation at the abutting, on the abutting property actually. Condominium representatives that were there already started to remove a portion of the fence at the end of that dead end to help accommodate that. We talked about maybe some signage as well to define it on the ground somehow. The existing vegetation along the property lines look like good buffers. It's just a lot of the development goes right near the property lines, but in a lot of areas there's 10 or 15 feet of existing vegetation. But again, even those areas need some maintenance to remove some of the invasive vine species that were there. The dumpster area was examined as well. The current location is grandfathered, but it was noted that it should be enclosed with a gate. And some of the existing fence may need repairs as well. And in that same area, there was some gravel road area repairs that looked like were necessary as well. The site distances at the entrances were very good. That's what I had put together for the report.
Mike, I have a question for you. The two hotels, were they ever permitted under a site plan before, when they were put in?
Yes, this is 1985 or
Okay.
84, 85 site plan.
Are they where it belongs or are they encroaching?
Well, they don't, a couple of them, well, many of the buildings don't meet setbacks.
Well,
So
that's what I'm saying. Did they meet the setbacks of the original site plan?
we have to look to see what the zoning was. The site plan doesn't note setbacks or show setbacks. So we have to look back at what the ordinance was at that time. I mean, for the most part in that area, there were 15-foot property line setbacks, but this may.
Cause it looks like everything meets except for, just about everything meets except for those couple areas there. And my question is whether they should get an approval from the zoning ZBA like we made the other hotel do.
Yeah, if they're not grandfathered in their current location,
Yeah.
they'll have to.
I mean, we're not gonna make them, can't make them tear it down, but just need to get it cleared up while it's here.
And I think the property line in that area is a stone wall, so
Yeah, well,
pretty obvious where the property line was. That's why I'm guessing it was allowed at the time, but we need to research that.
just research and see.
When was the plan approved, do you know?
I think it was 84, 85.
Yeah, I went through, yeah.
I know there were setbacks back then. The question is did they just put the buildings in the wrong place? There was a lot of that done back then. Nobody was ever required to bring an engineer in or anything.
There was a couple of zones that had very small setbacks though.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think it was called the BB zone, and I forget what the,
BB is the beach.
well, it is now, but in the past, before we had a GB zone, there was a BB zone along Route 1, and it was pretty relaxed.
It's still 6 feet.
But it's gotta be at least 6 feet, but.
Yeah.
but-
I just wanna get it straightened out the right way so that this is done and over with and we're not fighting with it every time.
Yeah, just like we did on other hotels, Point East and Majestic.
Something to look into.
Any other comments from any members of the board? Hearing none, I guess we can close this review on this one.
You gotta terminate in our public.
That's true, yep.
Yeah, we do have a couple of determinations we can make on it. We provided the memo that gave some notes and whatnot that the applicant needs to add to the plan. Those notes need to be on the plan before we can really do it.
We've had public hearings. Didn't we on it?
Well, they're not adding anything, are they?
No.
So they're just trying to clean up the plan.
Yeah,
Right,
so I don't think it's.
I don't think you need a public hearing.
I would make a
We don't-
motion that we do not
we don't
require a
need
public hearing, it's really just cleaning up the plan. We
Second.
blocked it,
Second,
everything looks like it's correct.
all those in favor? That is unanimous. There will be no public hearing.
Just wanna check Mike on like I said, the original approvals and see if they were put in wrong.
Can the board take a vote to waive the need for contours?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor? That is unanimous as well.
Jeff, on that dumpster, it was
Yep.
fully enclosed, cause the back.
Yeah, the front and the back have a new fence around that, yep. And as Mike mentioned, they were already ripping that fence out as after
Yeah,
after we
on
left.
the, over the fire lane will go.
Yep. And then we'll work with Mike on the notes and make sure we get everything squared away and straight on that, we've started to do that. And the comments that came through on Friday, some of the adjustments on that plan and based on our site walk.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The Next item this evening will be to report sidewalk results for Compass Point subdivision. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Lou Chamberlain from Aptar Engineering, representing Richard Dupuy, the owner of Unit S2 on this project.
Mike, would you like to comment on the sidewalk, please?
Yes, thank you. We also conducted a site walk on this property just on Saturday, on October 18th at 8:30 a.m. Conditions were the same, sunny and 48 degrees. We had 3 planning board members present and the applicant's agent is here tonight. As well as the applicant's contractor was there as well. And a multitude of condominium members were there, including the condominium president, myself was there, and there were no butters. Some of the comments from the sidewalk were the proposed S2 deck, and limited common avenue expansion was discussed, because that is the basis for this amendment. But as part of this amendment, we're also wanting to resolve some compliance issues with previously approved plans. Those were discussed, as well as a performance guarantee fund, which we still have in place from the original developer that can be used to rectify some of the compliance issues. There were 2 staircases observed that aren't shown on the plan, but appeared to meet all setbacks. We did have a question on code compliance with the, I wanna say, landscaping stairway that goes down towards the marsh, to make sure that, don't know if it needs to be code or not, but I gotta ask the code office that. We had a step question on that and a railing question. But it is part of the landscaping, so I have to check with the code office on that. The new S2 deck unit and foundation system is to be designed by Aptar Engineering, which is important because it's right directly behind a large retaining wall, so structurally wanna make sure that nothing interferes with that wall or the geotex reinforcement that's behind the wall. The setbacks that apply out there are multiple setbacks from the marsh, from the property line. So the multitude of setbacks was discussed as well. The vegetated slope behind units 9 and 10 was also looked at. There was some erosion issue there and it had been recently cleared. The original site plan approval did just call for grass and existing trees to be retained on that slope. Part of that slope was all man-made as part of the construction though. But it wasn't a detailed, it's commercial to commercial site, hotel to hotel, so there wasn't a visual screen, a vegetated screen required. But in that area, we'll look for details on how that's gonna be more solidly revegetated. Additional parking lot area coverage, lot coverage areas were looked at as well. It looked like all those areas could be permitted as long as they're just shown and as built it on the plan. We walked to the front of the site and looked at the parking space that was added next to unit 14 and a few different thoughts were shared on that, but ultimately it's considered that it has to be removed because it's within the required landscaping buffer. That we also looked at the parking changes that are required along the clubhouse itself to satisfy ADA parking space issues, and I believe we have a plan that can be accommodated without reducing any parking spaces.
Thank you. Any other comments from any members of the board?
We looked at some space about the shed too, so.
Oh yes, the condo association said they might be interested in adding a shed to the site. And we observed, I think maybe one spot it could go and meet all the setback constraints for the site.
So yeah, I talked with them a little bit more after the planning board members left, and we're not gonna include that as part of this amendment, just because the best place that they would like to put it would require a DEP permit. And we don't wanna slow down this application for that, so I understand that it would be good to have it on there, but it's gonna take some doing with the DEP, so.
Mike, are there as-built drawings for this project showing that construction of that retaining wall?
I think the last plan we have does have the retaining wall as built. The only thing that it doesn't capture is some of those new gravel areas.
Yeah, the retaining walls have been located. on the plan.
Right, I was more, I guess, I'm probably not looking for the as-built, but the, how it was constructed, because if you're going to put that deck in there,
Yeah.
you can be changing the loading on that wall, and that wall is already
Yeah.
leaning.
So, right, as we noted on the site walk, the walls were engineered and installed and inspected per plan, so they should be good. They were designed vertical so that, you know, any little misplacement of the block could make it look like it's leaning, but they were engineered and installed per plan. For the deck, we're gonna install helical piles that are inside of the retaining wall to kind of take the load off of those.
So they're inside because, most of those, and I'm not sure if this one does, most of them have, geotextile.
Yep. So where
Door.
we're putting the piles, there's no geotextile.
Okay,
The
that's what I wanna make
blocks are
sure,
like
yeah.
5 feet wide at the bottom. So be glad to share the engineer plans that they went in by, if not, but they were on file with the code office when they went in.
Who did the inspection on it?
That is a good question. I can look that up, but I'm pretty sure there's a report on it.
I wanna make sure there is a report.
Okay.
Okay, Mike, that's a dwelling unit, right? That's not a hotel?
Correct, the S units are dwelling units, all the other units are hotel units. We did have a couple other, or just one other action for the board to take would be to determine that capacity letters from the water district and sewer district aren't needed.
Do you want us to determine if you need a public hearing on it?
Public hearing,
Oh, yeah, you could do that first or after.
I would recommend that a public hearing is not required.
Second.
second, all those in favor? That is unanimous.
And I would recommend that capacity letters are not necessary from sewer division or the water.
Second.
All those in favor? That is unanimous.
Mike, before you go on, how much stuff is there that the last developer hasn't finished?
There's I think in our last package we did for the board, I highlighted a plan. There's a finished course of pavement that we're gonna install along the front. For unfinished items, that's pretty much the only unfinished item. But it's bringing the handicap spaces into compliance, because they had too steep of a cross slope on them. So there's some pavement removal, regrading that needs to be done, to bring those into compliance.
And how many years ago was this project finished?
I would say 5 or 6 years ago.
2018, yeah.
I think at this point, before we approve anything, we should get that stuff finished. It's the only way we're gonna get things taken care of the right way. You have the guy's money, but that's no good, it's not done.
Well, we talked about that on the sidewalk, is setting a deadline as part of this amendment of when it has to be completed and.
And then if it's not, we have to take them to court and stuff. Right now, we are in charge. I
Oh,
think,
no, it would be for us to finish it by that date, the town using those funds.
is there enough funds there?
I think so, from what I sketched up, I think there's enough funds there, probably won't be able to tell until it goes out to bid, so it'll be an itemized.
That's 25,000, I think you said, right?
I think we have 22.
23-ish, I think it was,
Is
And
what
that's
you-
just an overlay at the entrance and the handicap spots.
yes,
Should be enough.
and restriping.
I just wanna make sure it gets done. I mean, all this stuff, we go through this all the time. We approve a project, they don't finish it, they get to the very end, and then 10 years later, they come back for something else, we find out stuff isn't done. It's the only way we can get it straightened out is by holding projects up. Other than that, we have to take them to court.
I thought they said they had a paving date, didn't they, at the meeting?
No,
I don't
They
know.
did not say they had a paving date.
No, I don't think they
We
did.
told them we would give them a deadline date.
Oh,
We talked about a deadline, I think, yeah. I mean, they're happy to get that stuff taken care of, so I think.
You'd like to continue for 60 days, or?
So move.
Second?
All those in favor? That is unanimous.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the developer that did that project, is he developing anything in Wells right now?
No current applications.
I think we need to put a stop on anything he's doing.
Well,
If he
had
comes
an
in front of
active
us.
application,
Well, if he
yes.
comes in for a building permit or something on any of his projects, we need to do something about it. That's the idea that we set that program up. I mean, we have developers that come in, they finish stuff, they go somewhere else, and we get left out there hanging.
Yeah, it can't affect, building permits on a project that was already approved. If they had a new application, we would put whatever restrictions we want on it, postpone, review. We have better things in the ordinance now than.
Then we need to relook at the ordinance and find out that if we can possibly put restrictions on projects he's doing so that things get finished the right way.
Oh, going forward, we do. Now we have strong ordinance on that. Back when this other subdivision got approved, there weren't.
Has he finished is everything done on the other subdivision that he's working on, what's over by the Dunkin' Donuts?
Oh, yes, yeah, that one's done. There's one off of Great Brook that has one house left. Four lot.
And his other project is right next to Ty's RV, right?
Oh, yes,
Right.
that one, yes.
So
I forgot about that one.
yeah, to answer Dave's question,
I mean, my issue is if he's still building in the town, I thought we set it up so that we could put a hold on his building permits anywhere.
You can put a hold on an application that's before this board. Can't put a hold on the
So-
building permit.
So then I'd like to look at rewriting the ordinance to put in availability to put a hold on any building permit anywhere in town that the gentleman is working.
Yeah, that we
Well,
don't have yet, but we
But
can
I'd like
work
to
on-
do that for June.
We have talked about that.
Yes.
Yes, because that's the only way we're gonna get these things taken care of and protect the citizens. I mean, I understand the development down there wants it taken care of, it's their responsibility now because he's gone, but still, he should be taking care of it, not us.
The next item on the agenda is Brookside subdivision. Welcome.
How we doing?
Good, and you?
See, you guys got Dave all wound up for us.
Of course.
We do our best. If the shoe fits.
I mean, don't you agree?
Yeah, no, you're
I
right.
mean, you have to finish all your projects the right
Single
way.
one of them.
We need to make sure that everybody finishes their projects, that's all.
Yep.
Nothing different,
Yep, just
do it right.
For the record, would you like to tell everybody who you are?
Jason Lamonti, developer.
Craig Burgess with Acorn Engineering.
Again, welcome. Mike, you have comments for us on this?
Yeah, just some updates from the last meeting. We did get some revised plans last week, but there were still notes between the surveyor's plans and the engineering plans that didn't match. So we were looking for revisions to the plan to cover that. We did just receive tonight a new revised deed. Haven't had a chance to look at it, but once we have a chance to look at it and make sure it addresses my comments and the town attorney comments, the documents might be ready for final. We had a recommendation from the fire chief for the testing of the cistern system. He wanted to restrict it where it can't be done during the winter months. He's had a couple of times where he's gone out to test things in the winter season, things are frozen. It's hard to do a test in that time period and to have at least 48 hours notice to be able to schedule that test. So a couple of additions he wanted to the concerning the cistern. We had a note about the HOA maintaining the cemetery, and if that they don't, the town has the permission to come in and maintain it.
What about the wetland comment, number G?
Did I skip over a wetland comment?
G?
Oh, yes, yeah, they're haven't got their final DEP revision for the wetland fill amount, but that's pending and probably coming up at any time now. You know, they do have their full site location permit, and they just had to go back and amend that square footage and probably adjust your compensation to the state for that. So that has not come through yet. But that's a potential item that, because it's a minor modification just on that wetland figure, the board should consider whether you make that a condition prior to a pre-con meeting requiring that, or, you know, if you wanted to wait to sign the plan until that actually comes in. It might time out in 2 weeks, you may have it anyways. But would the board consider a condition that be provided prior to pre-con meeting, instead of prior to approval? That's something the board should think about.
well, it's just something that they're waiting for approval on, but it doesn't seem like there's anything that's gonna prevent it from being.
No, Army Corps granted the permit already to fill the total square footage. So I think it's really just a matter of amending to put the correct square footage in the permit, and it affects your payment in lieu for the wetland impacts.
We pay more money, so they're not gonna deny it.
Not what Army Corps.
Prior to any construction.
Correct.
Prior to the pre-construction meeting.
Pre-construction, yeah. So moved.
So second to that, all those in favor? That is unanimous. And also a matter of record is if you look at H, it says that they are not going to allow accessory dwelling units or short-term rentals.
Right.
And we had discussed this earlier on a project that we might want to consider, as one of the abutters had mentioned something to that effect.
We've already changed that, so a lot of the attorney comments that we got back was on a previous deed that we already had drafted up. Cause it took him so long to review, we've already modified, already added that language, Mike's already seen all that language. So over 3/4 of the comments of the attorney, other than just he wanted it worded his way, but outside of that, we've already got everything already in there as far as the ADUs. Limiting rentals, short-term rentals are excluded. And we've already got public access over Haystack Lane. All that stuff's already all done. I think the only couple items I think me and Mike were going back and forth with on today, was, I think I have it down for the 24th occupancy, before we could turn over, to the HOA and do finished pavement. Mike wanted to bring it down to maybe like the 22nd occupancy. The issue I have with that is that I like to get the finished coat of pavement on the road when we're getting, the last two foundations, after we get the last two foundations in. I don't wanna do it when we still have 4 houses to put up, cause then we put the finished pavement down, then the guys are unloading their excavators, they're putting dents in the finished pavement, and then the HOA is gonna be upset about it.
Any reason why you wanna be at the 22nd?
Typically, we do the last 10%. So just when you look at all the subdivisions we've approved, we hold the last 10% of the occupancies until the finished course of payment is done.
Yeah, but we're also gonna hold enough of his cash to make sure it gets done.
Oh yeah, we always have a performance guarantee.
Yeah, so I
But
mean,
a deadline needs to be set, and it can't be the last house.
no, he doesn't wanna do the last though. He just
Yes.
wants to do before the permits for the last two, or before you have to do a foundation permit, but before anything else.
Cause
Yeah.
you can
That's the
have
way
the
you would do it.
contractors not park on the new roadway, right? For the
Right.
last
He
two.
doesn't wanna tear up the road with the
Right.
the excavator and stuff, I can understand that.
Well, last time we had discussion on this, you said they could put down plywood and everything else for another project, so
I did.
now you're flip flopping, so what's the story? Which is it there?
Which one did I say that on?
It was a few months ago.
I don't have a problem as long as there's enough money out there.
Yes, it was, off a little Philbrook.
We have it right now, so
No,
it's holding.
I'm just giving him a hard time.
No, I'll give him a hard time too, but no, right now we have it, so the last two houses, we can't get CEO until the finished pavement's down. So we can't sell the last two houses until that's done anyways. So I thought that was kind of a fair mutual thing, cause we'll have the foundations in at that point on the last two.
Well, not only that, the last two houses we built, he can't sell them, and you'll still have money on his deposit for the guarantee, so you know it's gonna get done.
So I guess
I would just
you want
put
the
a
20th or
maximum
the
distance.
24th? What are we going for here? Cause you got
I
we
want
got
the
we got the
24th.
22nd. I know you what you want. You know that's not happening.
Well, I don't know, I mean, Dave's all about it.
I mean,
Again,
Dave's got a truckload of plywood he's
again, you got one full set of drawings so far, and we got another failure.
That's all you need is one full set.
That's not a full set.
Can we finish this discussion?
Yeah.
I think to stay consistent with our other approvals, the 10% would be 2.5 remaining lots, which would round up to 3, which would bring us to the 22nd, I think. Which is
There's 25 units, right?
25 units, yeah.
I'm gonna move for that 10% rule.
Second.
All those in favor? That is unanimous.
So is that 22 or 23?
22.
That is prior to the 23rd. So you have the 23rd, 24th, and 25th.
You get 22 done.
So you had 22 done.
Okay, so it would be the 23rd CO.
Right,
So we'll
prior
make
to-
everything say 23 instead of 24.
I think the other question we had was on the drainage easement.
The easement.
Yeah, originally we had recommended just a 10 by 20 easement right here where there's a existing culvert crossing on Meeting House Road. And that's what they had on the plan, but on the newer plans, and Jason and I had talked about it a little bit, was he was willing to do a 15-foot drainage easement along all of Meeting House Road. And I think when we were talking about that, I was thinking more just along the open space, not really considering that that would be through some of the landscape buffering areas. I would just not wanna see, the town get a 15-foot easement to do work there, and then the town be the one violating the buffer requirements.
Well, they'd have to put it back.
Yeah, then they'd have to plant it back.
I'd love to see that.
And I didn't, back when we brought it to staff review committee, we didn't talk about that, so Public Works didn't really have a voice in it. I mean, you can certainly think about that, I can get into it from the Public Works Director, but I'm just worried about, the planting requirements.
Well, if they use the easement and they do something to it, they're gonna have to put everything back.
I
But
don't-
it's there in case they need it.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah, and I think we just want a note on the plan that would say, if disturbed,
If it's disturbed, it's gonna be put back according to the plan by whoever disturbs it.
or a tree every 10 feet or a
Yep.
tree every 15 feet. Get specific on how it would have to be revegetated.
Could you just kick them back to the original approved plan? That shows the full vegetation plan and they
Yeah,
just
it's
have
gonna be
to.
put back to the original plan.
Yeah, I mean, we could, even the vegetation,
Yeah.
because we don't know what, that's an area that's an outlier.
Stop there.
There's some of the planting buffer where we have plantings, along the road, it's just existing vegetation. And so we don't have a detailed record of what's there for trees.
I was thinking it was more just in line, if they gotta put a culvert across the road or something, they can, whether it's here or here, they're
Yeah.
not specific, they got some flexibility. I wasn't really thinking they're just gonna run down the whole side of the road 15 feet beyond the right of way and
I don't think it's.
clear cut it.
I don't think it's needed in that area to re-ditch it either, but.
No, but they have the ability, if they have to, at least they can fix it. You know, they can come
Yeah, we
3
don't- we
feet or
don't know
4
what's gonna
feet into
happen.
it. You don't know down the road. I mean, if he's willing to give it to him, give it to him, as long as that's put a note on there that says if they do any work in it, they have to, put it back to where it belongs.
Yeah, and I think that's as long as we had a note that said that and that the developer or the HOA is not responsible for work done by the town within the easement, something along those lines.
We'll come up with something between you and I'm sure you'll mark it up and send it back to me.
Red line,
I think those are the only big outstanding things that we had questions for the board on, I mean, other than that, I mean, I think there's just some cleanup things that Mike just kinda sent us the other day. We made almost all the changes today, I think my attorney has one more deed just to address the first thing in the morning. But otherwise than that, we're open to get the final with just basically any little tweaks of wording or whatever, we can get that done this week.
So do we need to extend the time on this?
We need to
I
extend
assume it'll
60
just be
days, right?
back at the.
60 days would be good.
We'll still move, we continue the workshop for 30 days, what's that?
30?
Said we'll be back at the next meeting. You want 60 or 30?
Give them 60.
They want 60.
We'll give you 60.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? That is unanimous.
We'll just keep sending it back to Mike, he'll keep redlining, we'll keep making changes. And you'll keep giving us extensions.
The next meeting, will be good.
Alright, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
For the record, Steve has recused himself, and this is Mia Lane subdivision, workshop, public comments.
Hello again.
Welcome. Just in case someone tuned in late, would you like to tell everybody who you are, please?
Yes, for the record, Mike Sudak, Atar Engineering, here on behalf of Gilcrest Development. Thank you for continuing to have me.
It's my position. Mike, you had comments for us?
Yes, the first item was just to consider comments from the public hearing. A lot of drainage was discussed.
Mr. Chair, if I may. While I was sitting back there, I actually remembered a comment, I believe Ms. Hill is still in the audience, there is something that I neglected to respond to at the public hearing. I know it's closed, but I'd be happy to just speak it into
Well,
record
this
now.
is the workshop, so you can bring
Here
it
we
on.
go. She had brought up regarding riprap versus vegetated swales. Really, the only place that we're having any armoring is where you really wouldn't be able to have grass anyway. It's the emergency spillway, it's for inlet outlet protection of our driveway culverts. And then the one area where it's an actual armored slope is on the burnt mill side of that unit that's off the end of the cul-de-sac. So that's not anything that Autumn Lane or really anyone for that matter would see, besides that resident. So I just wanted to add that in.
Most of the slopes will be grass then.
Everything else will be grassed, yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, no, that's fine, yes, that was one of the public comments, so it was a big topic to review and talk about, and just to add maybe a little bit to the drainage discussion, now that you brought it up, is that the grading plan creates berms around the whole developed area, so all the stormwater runoff from all the surface areas is all forced to go to that detention pond. So there's a swale along this whole property line with a berm. There's a swale along the back of all the units with a berm behind it. And so there's no possibility of stormwater runoff going directly to the abutters. It all has to go down to this pond, which is the detention feature that regulates the stormwater coming off the property, to make sure there's no adverse impact to that culvert on Autumn Lane. In the past, we've got photos of the culvert looking like it's about 75% capacity. The analysis done was for a 25-year storm event. And as that table showed that was up earlier, there's a reduction in all storm events. So everything has been done design-wise for the drainage, has been by normal engineering, acceptable methods, and decrease the whole site compared to pre-development conditions. I think the other topic that was discussed was fire protection, in the hydrant that's on Autumn Lane. The fire chief did bring up, showing it on the plan, one of our requirements of our submission requirements is to show all means of fire protection in the vicinity of the project, so that's why it's shown. This is a wooded wetland, so it would be surprising if the fire department ever wanted to use that to fight a fire. But by state law, they can. Fire departments have broad discretion over water sources. They can throw an intake hose into a swimming pool and suck the water dry to fight a fire. They do have a lot of statutory rights to be able to use water for fire protection in many situations. Again, it would be very difficult to do that and truck through this wetland and woods to get there. They may run a line, from the hydrant on down to Route 1, which is the closest hydrant down this area. They have enough hose to run a hose up there, so they could do that as well. So just talk about some of the fire protection elements as well. And that'll come up when we get to the point where we're discussing wells versus public water supply. Once you make that determination, then the possible approval of a waiver for offsite fire protection would be the next item the board looks at.
Yep.
But in the memo, we had buffer determinations for the board to consider with the next item or items that we want the board to consider. If I get to the right plan, so the first buffer to consider is the 25-foot wide buffer along Teresa Lane. That's up here in this area. That is being satisfied by a 6-foot solid fence along that whole property line. And there's vegetation between the road and the fence. So if the board wants to make that determination, we need to take a vote to deem that proposed buffer as satisfactory.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor? That is unanimous.
Thank you.
The next buffer areas are to the north and the south. Again, the 25-foot buffer is required. On both of those areas, on the plan, it's this area and this area. And both of those have a lot of existing trees that have all been located by Aptar and some additional plantings. On this side, there's, I think, 3 or 4 additional plantings to be placed as well. So the plan is very detailed on what needs to be retained and what needs to be planted. So based on that information, the board needs to determine that those 2 buffers are satisfactory.
I thought you wanted 6 foot tall.
Oh, yes, on the, yeah, you're correct, on the plan it notes 4 to 5 feet, and we're recommending a typical 6 foot.
So I'll recommend the buffer with the 6 foot plantings.
Is there a second to that? All those in favor? That is unanimous.
Thank you.
6-foot buffer.
Understood.
The other buffer is on the east side of the property, which is essentially the whole no-cut wetland area. So there is houses in this direction, the Reagan's Way development is over in that area. So the buffer on this side of the property is being satisfied by the no-cut area that is the existing buffer. So if the board consider that buffer.
So move.
Is there a second? All those in favor? That is unanimous as well.
Thank you.
The other buffer, the last buffer we had was along the entrance road itself in this area. And in this area, there's a whole row of plantings proposed there as well. And that's another area where we're
6.
recommending 6 foot versus 5 foot.
Is 10 foot on center close enough?
It won't be a solid visual, the lot next door is vacant, so there's no existing residential use there. That won't create a visual screen in its current proposal, but eventually it will fill in. Unless you wanted to propose more.
Sounds like 8 foot would be more appropriate. 8 foot on center. Arborvitae's, I mean, how wide?
They don't get
will it-
very wide very
Right,
quickly.
well, that's just a problem. So I would recommend, make a motion that they be 8 feet on center and they be a minimum of 6 feet in height.
Second. There's a second on that. All those in favor? That is unanimous as well.
And the last part of that buffer area was to create a performance guarantee or a deadline of when those plantings had to be in place. Could be, typically we'll do prior to the first building permit.
That's perfect, so move.
Second.
All those in favor? That is unanimous.
Cruising. Thank you.
And the next item is determining the water supply.
Well, before we go there, can we go back to the public comment from the public hearing, the short-term rentals and
Oh, yes.
auxiliary dwelling units? So, we have been asking on some of these plans and we stepped out at an inopportune time
Oh.
because we just discussed on the other one. We've been asking for language that says there will be no short-term rentals or auxiliary dwelling units on the properties, if that's the plan.
The ADU portion, I understand, and Mike made a recommendation to that effect. The short-term rental one, I can't speak to my client's
Well, this is an awful tight project.
financial decision. I understand that, maybe I just need to be educated on what's informing them.
Yeah, short-term rentals would be allowed right now in any dwelling unit in town. The town will be regulating them probably on the town ballot in June. We're gonna have licensing requirements and other performance standards that have to be met for short-term rentals.
Yep.
A lot of cases,
If-
most developers look at it and they don't, as a selling point, they wanna restrict them. Because anyone that buys a unit there doesn't wanna be next to a weekly rental. I mean, it sort of depends on their marketing, I guess.
Mhm.
And your neighbors.
Mike, if it was a 2-family, what would the separation be on these buildings?
If they, I believe it's in the revised ordinance, we have 30-foot separation. But back when
For a
this,
2-family,
for single family, so
yeah, but what about a 2-family?
a 2-family.
So if you put an ADU in this, it's considered a 2-family,
No, it's an accessory dwelling unit and a
but
dwelling
it's still
unit.
2 families that are living in it.
It
So
would affect-
my issue is it's awful, the whole site's tight. If you start putting ADUs in there, first of all, where are you gonna get the parking? Number one.
Parking would be an issue, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And number two, are these all 2 bedrooms?
3.
3 bedrooms, so you have 3 parking spaces, 4 parking spaces.
Well, this is grandfathered before we change that ordinance. So this would just be 2 per dwelling unit.
So then if you put an ADU in there,
That's crazy, I mean, that's,
I would recommend that
I
there were
would
no
recommend
ADUs
no
allowed.
ADUs.
Didn't you say you already were agreeing to no ADUs?
There's language that Mike specifically recommended, I think, which is based on what your voters are gonna be putting into place next month, which is to have, I think, a maximum of one ADU, and if we elect to do that, it needs to be specifically designated.
So that's not where we're at, okay.
We get voted on in 2 weeks, which, and even our current ordinance really restricts ADUs of one per property. It's not one per dwelling unit, it's one per property. So by ordinance, one ADU could be allowed out here.
But we're not looking for any, I mean, this is already a tight site. When we walked it, it was tight. You got a lot of wetland issues there and you got a lot of drainage issues there. So if you put up an ADU, you're gonna create additional drainage units. So we're asking that to be no ADU language.
Just as the project was, that was just in front of us.
and the other issue is, are you restricting no parking on the road?
Yes.
That in here says there's no parking on the
And
road
there's-
and in everybody's deed.
And there's signage off the back of the cul-de-sac as well, it's not on this sheet, but it's elsewhere in the set.
Can we make sure it's in the deed, Mike? It says there's no parking on the road.
It's in the HOA or condominium.
I know that, but I wanna
association.
see it in the deed. It's that, people say, oh, I didn't see it in the HOA. If it's in their deed, when they read the deed, the lawyer should say to them, hey,
We can add it to the
just so
sample.
you know, there's no parking on this road, cause this site is really, really tight, putting a lot on here.
This was originally 7 units, right? Was the original plan 7 or 6?
I remember there was a clubhouse.
I believe,
I think it was 6 units and a clubhouse.
I think it was 6 units and some type of common amenity, a pool or a clubhouse or something to that effect. 6 dwelling units.
We talked about how tight it was that you might have to go down to 5, so now what we're saying is you've got 6 on the plan, and what we're saying is we wanna have language that says no ADU, so.
Yeah, I understand that, but I just wanted to point out that each of those hatches that you see there is a maximum impervious envelope. That's for any contemplations, and that's what the stormwater was generated based off. I just wanted,
So
I
it
heard
sounds
you,
like it's easy enough to put the language in.
I heard you bring up that the contemplation of an ADU would bring about additional impervious, and it can't. Everything is within that common element, and the stormwater was designed assuming every square foot of that common element's impervious, which it won't be. But I just wanted to have that on record.
So you're
I
gonna go,
guess, sorry, Brian, for cutting you off. I guess, can you go back to your client and ask him if he's okay with writing out no ADUs? No short-term rentals to match what we did with the last units that went through.
So that was on Mr. Labonte's?
Yes.
I'll listen.
If you wanna look, yeah, if you
I'll
wanna
listen
go
to the
back.
recording. Yeah, okay, yes.
And I think both of those will, believe it or not, be selling points on them.
I did step out at an inopportune time.
you certainly did.
Yeah.
Obviously, you took that off the meter, I hope.
Someone else's.
Okay, private wells, Mike?
Yeah, so this question has been outstanding since preliminary approval. And in the ordinance, which we quote in the memo, the ordinance says when the location of the subdivision does not allow for a financially reasonable connection to the Kennebunk Port Wells Water District, the board may allow the use of individual wells or a private community water system. So in this case, we have municipal water by the water district that's about 1,700 feet away from the furthest away from the house, the one that's flashed up on the cul-de-sac.
Yep.
It's about 1,200 feet away from the entrance off Burnt Mill Road, and it's about 500 feet to go into the property to the last house. A cost estimate was provided by the engineer of about $240,000 to bring water in that area, compared to private wells in $115,000 or so. So there's quite a difference in cost between the two alternatives. The water test was recommended and required, and the board received that as part of this package that we got with the most recent plan revisions.
I
A
can,
water test from where?
I can answer that.
That's one of the big questions.
That was one of the questions. It's I don't know the specific address, it's just to the left of Teresa Lane, so maybe in the 102 range on Burnt Mill Road.
Right on one of these lots?
Yes, up front. So
that one there.
about as close as we could get. So yeah, we're 88 Burnt Mill, and I believe it was 102 thereabouts, Burnt Mill.
And nobody, no filtration system in the house?
And the only thing that was, well, it's in the back of your packet. I think the only thing was that the
pH, I think, is the only thing
yeah,
that
pH was slightly alkaline, but actually pretty thorough report off the back of it. Could be from soil type, could be from, yeah.
I just have a question that if we move forward with this subdivision approval and there has been no water testing on that specific property. So in order to get a building permit, they have to prove that the water is,
Yeah, they gotta drive a well.
Correct, they can get
so
it
you're
for
going
use-
to go through the expense of creating this whole subdivision and not testing the waters that are going to come out of the ground where the project is going to be
For quality or for yield?
Both.
for quality
And
Quality.
yield.
and yield,
I mean,
Because-
quality should be about the same.
right? But I mean, you know, we've had issues in town where wells have not been correct and it's cost the town a lot of money as well. And we're appointed by the town to try and uphold these standards. So my question is, how are they gonna prove that this water is correct? I don't wanna see the town have to buy another subdivision.
Yeah, just in the interest of knowing how long that takes to schedule, I think we'd be interested in having that as a condition of approval. We go out there, we punch something. Back when I was working with Comac on the estimates, we were lining that up as well, so.
Because obviously it's very wet there. There's a lot of water there and there was a proposed subdivision not too far from there that never went anywhere because of
Yeah, a little further south.
water issues.
Yep.
And I just don't wanna see
I understand.
your client expend all this money if it's not.
Yep.
Then he'd have to go the other route if it wasn't.
So currently, we're required prior to any building permit, could do a condition that a well has to be put in with a specific yield and quality prior to the road getting built.
I mean, it would benefit the developer if it's
Mhm.
undevelopable.
Yep.
By those standards, I'm just,
I was just thinking before they go to the expense of building a road.
Yeah, because they'd have to dig the road up
Right.
and turn around and put
Yeah,
it, put in the underline.
Having it prior to a building permit is great, because then they won't be building a house and wasting that money.
right, but
But there's a lot
but
of
you're gonna
money
build a whole
building roads, so-
infrastructure before you get a building permit.
Yeah, if the alternative is water infrastructure, then the extent to which you've already, yeah, I understand. So I'm agreeable to Mike's suggestion as well for have it be prior to starting construction, prior to start of travelway construction, whatever.
Prior to a pre-con meeting, the well test information be provided
Yeah.
that provides a certain yield and quality.
So how many wells are you putting in? One for every house?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what's the minimum yield you're gonna allow?
Yeah, that can vary quite a bit based on the depth of the well, because every vertical foot of well casing is about a gallon of storage. So you can have a well that only produces 2 gallons a minute, but it's 500 feet deep and has plenty of capacity. So I guess I'd be looking from something suggested by the engineer first, and then we can review it.
Yeah,
Especially if it's 3 bedrooms, right?
yeah, depending on
3 bedrooms is 270 gallons a day.
depending on depth, we'll see what an appropriate yield is. Okay, prior to, okay,
I guess if you're gonna require extension municipal water, then we don't need to have that as enough though. Do you guys wanna make that decision?
I have no problem doing that.
I'm just worried about down the road. I mean, that's my issue. I mean,
I know it's twice the
I mean,
cost, but
it passes the front of the subdivision. Because he's building way inside there with this many units isn't the town's fault.
what passes?
The water.
No, sewer.
Sewer does.
Sewer does.
Sewer doesn't go all the way up there? I mean, water doesn't go up there?
Water does not go up,
I
Not
thought
this,
they brought up Burnt Mill to the,
not this end of Burnt Mill.
no,
not this end of Burnt Mill? Oh, I know what they did, they come through,
Spencer.
Spencer.
right, no, water does not
I
come
forgot
up
about
Burnt Mill
that,
Road,
yep.
just sewer.
Well, that would help the people on Burnt Mill Road.
And there is a proration formula that the water districts have to use, that if a private developer puts in a water line that as people tie in over a 5-year period, they get a prorated refund back from the water district. But I don't think did your cost estimate include ledge?
No,
It did not, and there might be ledge out there.
Yes.
So it might be on the low side.
yeah, what's in your cover letter there, that comparison is prudent to conservative, so the disparity is likely even more than that.
There's a part of me wants them to come back with what their suggestions are on the well, then we make a decision from there.
Be nice to have the information, I mean, you're asking us to go blindly into this.
Well, the decision on municipal water or wells.
Is about
that's-
$120,000.
Yeah, if we decide on wells, then we need to set the yield and
I'd rather-
parameters there.
I'd rather look at both of them together at the same time. Cause if they come back and say that they don't have enough, then we gotta go downtown water.
The hypothetical that we're entertaining is prior to start of construction, so I wouldn't have that before I'm in front of you next anyway.
You'd be approving it with a condition
Right.
that they provide that information prior to pre-con, so it would be post-approval.
And at that point, we'd have to set a gallon. And say if it doesn't meet the gallons per minute, that it would go to town water. Automatically.
Then they'd have to come back for an amendment to go to town water. If they couldn't meet that condition, they're not gonna be able to build a road.
Right.
But again, aren't they gonna clear most of the road to get in there, cause I'm assuming they're gonna wanna punch a well where they wanna put a well? Why would you not build in?
Oh, they'll go in and put it on the first lot, definitely.
Site's already in a state where that can be done. There's been some clearing out there.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the question, Mike, really is what is definitely needed for the gallons per minute?
If wells are gonna be allowed,
If they would
if you're gonna
allow,
require town water, we don't need to talk about the.
yeah, well, the way, I don't know, what's the board feel?
So you're saying it's supposed to be a reasonable cost, right?
Yes,
If
the way
it's
the way the ordinance is written, it says that when the location of the subdivision does not allow for a financiable reasonable connection. So reasonable subject to interpretation.
What is financial reasonable condition? $120,000 divided by 6 units,
Yeah, that's the difference.
which is
But then-
20 grand a
20
unit?
grand a unit.
But that's actually
So-
almost what the cost of the well is.
Oh, it'd be double the well,
So
so.
the wells are gonna cost double, it
So it's an
would cost you
additional,
double the wells.
well, it's an additional 20,000 per unit.
But you also have to figure out that then KK&W is gonna whack them about $5,000 a house
For connection.
for connection.
Yeah, but I'm assuming that's in that 238 number.
It's not.
It's not.
No, it's not from the back.
Do you have the previous applications in front of you? I don't wanna say that those numbers are being taken out of context, but there was a range that was provided for both. And I think it might be selling the argument short by saying that it's just double. I don't have it in front of me, but
Well, you're gonna have to go at least, what, 200 feet
for
for water?
what, from the frontage?
No, for the depth of your wells.
Oh, yeah,
So you're talking, what, $35 a foot in casing?
I would think you'd have to go deeper than that. I remember the ones in the area were in the 3 to 4 range.
Okay, so that's you're about probably 15 grand a house.
Over wells, yeah, easily, I would say that.
Well, I think that estimate was, yeah, just shy of 20 a house.
And you don't know until you get the water results if you.
And that's the
freeze.
question,
Right.
so.
I think that was part of the range. I think the original data that you provided was a range for the well cost and a little bit of a range for the water.
Yeah.
And
So,
there was an upper end.
Yeah,
so
but-
how long would it take you to punch a well? Why can't you punch a well and get his results back before we make the decision? That way you can tell us if it has the yield and the quality. Cause other than that, I'm gonna make a motion that you go with town water.
Okay, then we will punch a well, if that's the alternative.
So we're gonna put that on hold until he gets back.
The other option would try to get a yield from one of the abutters.
Nope.
Anybody
No.
Nope,
No,
because
we
it
want
change,
that.
it'll change within 1,000
Yeah.
feet.
It can.
My well is 850 feet, my
That's not what
neighbor's is
I'm
100.
And
No,
they can have completely different yields.
Yep.
Okay, well, I think that,
Is the project behind them all on wells also? Or are they on town water?
They got a-
Autumn Lane,
They get a hydrant.
Town water.
on Autumn Lane comes off of Route 1 with town water.
Oh, okay. Then why was the comment made in the email that they'd be taking their water?
it's a private system. And
No, about the wells.
the wells, there was a comment in the
There was
wells.
a comment
going
there saying
dry.
that they'd be using their well water.
I think it was just a communal draw that these prospective wells would affect the oh yeah, you're right, cause they're,
It won't affect KKW.
No.
no, it won't.
No, they're on public.
That comment came from Autumn Lane?
Okay, that's why I was wondering about the, you know. And the other issue was on the fire hydrant that they spoke up about. I know the town has a right to use that fire hydrant for any property in the area, so it doesn't really matter.
There's one on Route 1 too, isn't there?
Yep. But if there's a fire, the town of Wells,
Yeah, they'd use whatever.
they have the right to use that fire
They
hydrant no
can
matter
use
what.
anything they need.
Any
Yep.
fire pond or anything.
So other than those items,
Yeah, rest of the memo, a very short list of, I think this is the smallest amount of ink I've seen from you, Mike, in a long time,
Wow.
so,
In there,
I got a question on monumentation.
wait a minute, red lines.
yeah, there's, all the corners have existing monumentation except one where they're proposing a set of bounds, which would be town
I
ordinance.
don't need it.
So if you'd like to take a vote to consider the existing and proposed bounds as suitable for monumentation.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor? That is unanimous.
thank you.
Move to continue the workshop for up to 60 days.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? That is unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen.
No, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
That's fine.
For the record, Steve is joining us.
Welcome back, Steve.
And the next item on the agenda is Burtonville Estates subdivision.
Most states, I'd be speaking to inform, I can if you like me to, but. Can I walk my client out of this? I'll be right back.
You punching off this one?
No, I'll be back.
Okay.
Always leaves it an opportune time.
Okay, Burnt Mill Estates. And for the record, you are.
Ben Omensky,
Welcome.
thanks for having us.
Mike, you have comments for us?
Yeah, I think it'd be good just to review a little history on this application, because it's been around since 2021, 2022, around that time period.
Oh, what I would like you to do for a matter of record for the people out there in the internet world around us is tell them when this project was approved and that we are not adding an additional 172 units.
I'll go back even further in history then.
Yes, please.
Please do, because there's a lot of talk out there, chatter that,
People accusing the selectmen and the planning board of allowing another 172 units.
Yes, no, this is an amendment for 174 units to move from one side of the road to the other. So the 174 units has been approved since 2015. Prior to that, there were 85 units approved going back in 2005. So the original golf course and subdivision was a golf course, 18-hole clubhouse, and 85 units. And it was all condominium style. In 2015, the owners came back and got an amendment to go up to hundred and 74 units.
That was 10 years ago.
And that was 10 years ago.
10
Yes,
years
this has been approved at 174 units for 10 years. There've been a couple of amendments that have occurred since, the biggest being, of course, the elimination of the golf course. And that happened the same time period as this redesign was proposed as well. Part of the amendment to remove the golf course had requirements that were needed, that didn't occur and had to be resolved by the town. Those items have all been corrected now and the project is out of default, which allows the applicant to come back at this time to revisit the original application to move units from one side of the road to the other. So this is an application that's grandfathered under our 2022 ordinance. It's the new, maybe I'll go to the approved, I think I have the original. So the current approval without the golf course is represented in these plans. So you can see the design that's currently approved for 174 units goes, most of the development is to the northeast side of Hobbs Farm Road. And it involved, quite a road network to get to all these units and lots. Most of these lots were approved, all these lots were approved with duplexes. So stretching out from Hobbs Farm Road, like I said, quite a road network. It included an emergency egress down Storer Lane with a gated access at one point of that. So the approval, the last approval eliminated the golf course in this area. The new plan eliminates all the road network and lots and units on this side of Hobbs Farm, except for a cul-de-sac off a store. So there'd be 16 units, 16 lots, I believe, off a store that is part of it. There are some standard or cluster lots right on Hobbs Farm Road proposed, and then all the rest of the units is an expansion of lot 54. And if you remember, lot 54 was approved for up to 20 condominium units in this area. Only 10 are under construction to be built. And this lot that went with the condo for lot 54 would become this larger lot. That's an expansion of that condominium. So that's the redesign and a brief history on it. That was proposed in 2022 and now can come back for review and moving forward.
Thank you.
I guess I'd look to Ben to add anything to that. No, I think you got it. Okay.
Mike, before we start, I have a question. Has the town been paid for everything that they had to do to straighten out up there?
Yes, as I briefly described, the project went into default on a few items. All of those items have been resolved. There was a new default item on a buffer issue in the fire pond issue from a year or so ago, if you remember. And the default, the buffer has been replanted. I wanna say more plants than the original plants that were there. And the fire pond was brought up to level. The well became functional again, so the well is available to keep the fire pond, full in this area. The fire pond is part of Hobbs Pond, and that area is governed by the dam. There've been a couple of different dam renovations that have happened to try to get more water to be impounded by Hobbs Pond. And that's something we still, as part of this application, we need to look at to make sure that the outlet of that dam can be, properly controlled to make sure there's always volume in that area. It did get low at one point, I think this past year, and the fire chief did go out and look at it and determine there was sufficient volume still within that area for fire protection. So that's something you constantly have to look at and watch. But yes, those defaults have been resolved.
Okay, but has the town been paid for them?
We had performance guarantee money in place prior to the last approval,
So this,
cover all those.
do we still have performance money for what they're building now?
We
Enough to
do.
cover everything?
For the remaining performance guarantee money, I think we have is for finished course of pavement. for this string of condominium units. As-built plans, things that are typically done and, close to the final occupancy. So we have other triggers on when those have to be completed. And if they weren't completed, then we'd have to use the performance guarantee monies again, of course, but.
Well, I have a comment. We should not be in that position again, since you're sitting here. We should take care of everything the way they should this time.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said, the town should not be put in that position again. You should make sure that everything's done appropriately this time and correctly. I was on the past sidewalks for this property, and there's a lot of things that were done wrong, so I'll make sure that we don't run into that again.
My issue is truthfully, I'm gonna stay right now, after everything that happened up there, I don't feel that the developer has the capacity to build this project. Okay, we had to take it over and finish it, to fix it, and I really have an issue with that. And I don't know how we're gonna guarantee that it's done right, whether we require an
You
engineer.
could say that you have to hire a construction management firm.
Well, that's fine, I don't have a problem with it, but we somehow have to do that so that these things don't happen again. I mean, you just don't say to somebody, okay, you built it wrong, you didn't fix it, the town had to come in and project manage it, get it taken care of, and now you wanna continue to build 85 more houses. I mean, that, as far as I'm concerned, if you had to be taken over, there's a big issue with the capacity under our ordinance. So, I mean.
One of our criteria is financial and technical capacity.
No, I don't feel they have the technical capacity. Financially, maybe yes. And if that's the case, then we need to put in the thing that they need to hire a project management company.
And those companies are available, they're out there.
No, but I just need to make sure we get that out right now so they understand.
I think we were recommending having another sidewalk too, because it's been since.
I think I'm the only one who was actually on sidewalk up in there the last 10 years.
So one thing can be on my side.
I can't do this Saturday.
But either can we do Sundays?
No,
Okay.
but we don't have to do it this Saturday either.
I'm not available this Saturday and the next couple of Saturdays, that's why I asked, I would like to go with it, that's why I figured I'd throw it a Sunday.
That's fine, just push it out.
On season.
You're looking at December at that point then?
It's been on in front of us for all this time, what's the difference?
Yep, I'm just,
I mean, it dragged out for 2 years.
What's the notice
We just wanna
period?
get it done before snow though.
that's even worse. You guys are gonna hate me.
I'm not available
And it's
to-
too dark to do in the evenings now. I think.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, it's much too dark in the evenings.
Plus, we're gonna need some time out there.
I should be back in the country by December 6th. I end the end of November, then I leave for Ireland for a week. So I should be back by the 6th.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
Or we could do the 10th, which would be a guarantee.
for the record, Mike Sudak at our engineering. Not that I don't want Paul to be there, but do we need a full board attendance?
I have not seen it and I would like to walk this, especially from all of the renditions, all of the extensions that we've gone through.
Yep.
All of the fun that we've been through, I would like to walk it, that's why I realistically, I would say December 13th. To guarantee that I can at least be out there and see it. Again, when I first came on the board, which was 3 years ago?
End of 22, beginning
Yeah.
of 23.
Have 2 sidewalks.
No. Yeah. No. And you can't walk it alone either, it's
Right.
against the rules, so.
Right.
I mean,
We've waited this long to have it, we might as well, what's another month?
I mean, I'm with
2
Paul, I
months.
gotta tell you, I mean, with the amount of aggravation you people have put, I know it's not you, Mike, but with the amount of aggravation that we've been through on this previously, I have no problem with waiting a month to do this.
Well, then set a date.
So I'll make a motion, it's
13th of December?
Saturday, December 13th at 8 AM.
Is there a second to that? All those in favor? That is unanimous.
That gives us plenty of time to schedule, cause I won't be here, but Shannon will be available.
So Mike, in terms of staking, what are we gonna have them stake out?
I think last time
Leave
was
it to it.
flagging the center line of the road all the way through.
That'll give you time to flag it and mark it.
think of anything else you want.
And what time is that?
Corners of buildings,
8 a.m.?
you might as well, you have enough time, might as well have as much
Corners or just centroids? Corners?
As long as the building's center of the road.
What are you doing for spacing between the buildings?
This is grandfathered under the old
20 foot?
Mhm.
I thought if these buildings created a fire hazard that we could separate them more.
That's on the new one. Not the 2022.
We really need to talk to the fire chief and see what he thinks about this situation being out there with only that one fire pond in there.
Will they be sprinkled as well?
To be determined, I guess.
I mean, there's a lot of buildings close to 20 feet apart, that's ridiculous, and if there's a fire out there, they're all gonna go.
It is a central water supply that's already under pressure.
That's a private water supply, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That has had issues,
What's that issues? The water supply?
yes.
Not this past year it hasn't.
Didn't you have an issue a month or two ago that no one had water for a few days?
No issue that, well,
I'm getting nods in the audience. and I-
because we shut it down.
Or you shut it down because of what
Another-
issues,
a
right?
A resident had issues with their water, had to turn it off, not for days, it was less than a day. 2 different times, 1 or 2 different times.
So that's one water supply, supplying everything, correct? All the units?
That's correct,
Plus the new units.
correct.
Just out of curiosity, what is the supply line size and makeup?
It's either 2 or 3 inch, I
I
think.
think it's 3, but I don't know.
I think the proposed was 3.
And it's
I would like a
3-inch
professional
ductile,
opinion.
3-inch poly.
Poly, I think it's poly on the plans.
Good.
I looked at the plans briefly, it's been 3 years since I looked at them, I did look at them briefly
It's
before this
poly,
meeting.
it's definitely poly.
And there's a pump house facility proposed, looks like upgraded from the one that's there now. So yeah, I think having a dual pump system to make sure if one pump is down for maintenance, there's another pump, that's making the system, functional the whole time. As the number of units increase, those redundancies need to be replaced too.
So a 3-inch water supply is not gonna be sufficient to handle 174 units.
The other question is, what's the drop in pressure at the furthest point?
Yeah, the elevation changes are
Yeah.
a bit.
I mean, are they having any issues up there at all, have you heard about, for pressure on any of the houses?
Like to have an intermediate pump station.
I haven't heard about pressure issues.
Again, we could probably hear from some of the residents when we have a public hearing. Obviously, we can't hear from them tonight because it's not public comment.
Either that, or they could send the office in some comments if there are any issues, and now's the time to bring them up to us while we're reviewing things at the same time.
Anything that anyone had to say here or at home listening, you can correspond with the Office of Planning and Development by email or whatever.
And currently, there's one active well, but on the original approvals, I think there were 4 or 5 other potential well sites
It's
for
a
the water
backup,
supply.
it's a well and a backup well, yeah.
And that's
Those-
the same as well, that hasn't changed from the original.
Right, but those are all things we're gonna need to know. And
Yeah.
So,
fire department, fire
So,
chief, and everybody's gonna
Mike, are
need to
you
know.
proposing with these wells, are you proposing like for example, the Kennybunk Water has a number of wells that feed a storage tank. And then the storage tank is used in terms of volume and pressure to offset the daily use. Is that something you're proposing for this?
I'm gonna defer candidly, I'm here, I mean, that's not even my plan that's up there, so I'm more of a note taker in this capacity.
so this is a public water supply, do we have any history on it?
It currently is, and testing gets done,
Do we have any history on the testing and stuff?
that goes right to the state and the
Um,
EPA.
I'd like to see it. There's no reason that they can't provide us all the test reports since it's been up and running. That'll tell us the
It's
quality of
online.
it.
It's all online.
Well, we're not gonna hunt for it. That way there we can see all that stuff to see whether they've had any issues with the wells. for
I know the
quality.
code office got a recent test because of a building permit application.
Yeah.
But other than that, we don't have a history.
Okay. But it is a public water supply, so there is records.
Move to grant a 60-day extension.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. If you could stake that or have that all staked out, because I know you're just the note taker tonight.
No taker.
60 days carries through to the, what was scheduled, right?
Yes, sir.
No.
No. Let's go 90.
Oh, okay, yes.
Amend that.
Amend the motion to 90 days.
Is there a second to 90 days?
So.
All those in favor?
Thank
That
you.
is unanimous. For 90 days.
Something more than note taking that time. I got something after us, it's stuck outside.
The next item on the agenda is Bald Hill RV Park,
Thank you, John.
and they are consider granting an extension, I do believe.
Yes, good evening. Jamie Garland with Mainland Development Consultants. Council, Paul had it right, I should have asked for 30 more days.
Oh, that has to definitely be recorded. I need you to say that again out loud. I need that at my house, just so you know.
You just got invited to Thanksgiving.
We do have plans back in with the town, however, this is a little bit of a Rubik's Cube, because it's not only the site plan for the RV park, but a subdivision amendment and a site plan amendment. And so we've caught a few things and trying not to bombard the town with multiple bad copies, as I've already done once. We paused, fixed everything up and got that all submitted last week, so we're back again, asking for consideration of extension on time, and we also don't have any work from the DEP yet either, so.
So you consider 30 or 60?
He's gonna want a 60. We're gonna
Yeah,
just go.
We're gonna give him 60.
Yeah,
Move to grant a 60-day
thank
extension.
you,
Second.
All those in favor? That is unanimous.
thank you very much.
You're all
Good
set.
night.
Sorry to keep you so long.
It's like watching old football games, you gotta come and catch up.
Now we're under other business, Mike.
Yeah, so we just had a minor amendment, site plan amendment to Litchfields. They relocated their dumpster. So it was something that we just approved by, just the code office and planning office. Just fell under that threshold. So that's the only other approval that's happened. And then we prepared a memo on, ordinance changes to think about for June 2026. So there were some ordinance changes that didn't make the final list for November. And we limited it to just the 3 or 4 items that we put on the November ballot. So some of those are, well, short-term rentals, the board had started with, but it wasn't gonna make it in November. The board of selectmen have had probably 3 or 4 workshops with the town attorney now on writing up a short-term rental licensing and ordinance sections, and town attorney is drafting those. So right now it's in her hands, the board of selectmen's, and then it'll come to the planning board for review as well. So that'll be on the list for June of 2026. But you haven't seen it yet, but we'll soon. Street standards, we just made some changes to street standards in June of this year. But there were a couple of items that we didn't tackle at the time. And it's because of LD 1829, allowing higher density on lots potentially. It's something we should revisit as far as the road standards, because right now they're written up a certain road standard for a certain number of lots. But now with LD 1829, that could possibly allow 3 dwellings on every lot, the trip generation is just gonna go up, and the road standards should be revisited based on that. Flood ordinance, we're, been currently working on, and we can work on again tonight. Workforce housing is something that we talked about. We did the hotel housing for the last town meeting, and that got approved. But we also talked about potentially doing other forms of workforce housing, for other businesses other than from
I don't think we need to, Mike, because they're using the ADUs for workforce housing, that's
That's
what they've
true.
come out with, so why should we do a special ordinance for it?
Actually, there's a proposed bill before the legislature, I'm not sure if it's gonna get taken up this session or not. To define workforce housing and define, it's gonna be like the ADUs,
Okay.
so maybe we.
We've already, yeah, but the selectmen are already pushing the ADUs to be allowed for workforce housing.
And we did pass in the interim, a couple years ago now, we passed the, college overlay district.
Yep.
And the college, I don't know what time frame they're standing on, but they are looking at dorms. And those dorms during the summer season are gonna be allowable for workforce housing too.
Have we got an update from them at all?
No, not recently, I gotta. have to check.
UNE does that,
UNE does that, yep,
yes, they do.
yep, it seems to work well, and the ordinance change that we made as a town to allow that at the college is gonna help them get funding earlier rather than later for tours. So yeah, maybe that's something we don't tackle now because of some of the state law changes that are happening and because of the college. Under our definition of subdivision, that's something we may wanna modify in lieu of LD 1829 as well. And we have a couple of conflicts in the way we define it item too. Timber harvesting, we had that potentially for November, but got delayed because I had to get approval from DEP for timber changes in the shoreline. But that should be one that should be on the June 2026 meeting. That's a simple enough, easy enough to do. But then I just had a reminder that the ballot deadline will be April 7th. So it comes up fast, it always comes up fast.
Wanna add that other one on there, Mike, that gives us some teeth, that when a developer is in conflict, such as, he hasn't finished the project, that he can't continue on in any other project in the town.
So we wanna call it.
Even
developer
active,
default
even
or-
active projects, Mike, we don't,
Even active, yeah, we wanna make it so that, if you're building, if you did a subdivision and you didn't do something, why should we let you continue to build in the town?
community issues, stop work on it.
Yeah,
I know last time, there was comments made about how many we were trying to do all at once by the board of selectmen.
you know what, we'll never
I
get
get
caught
it.
up unless we do it.
Right, but you're gonna have that many on the ballot. Is there one of them we should take off? Cause again, it sounds like we're gonna take workforce housing off to put that in play.
Yeah, workforce
Right, let's
housing.
be reasonable, let's not just say, hey, we're gonna do 10 of these and only have 3 of them go through.
No, I understand that,
But-
I mean, we're gonna take workforce housing off. There's no sense in it, they've already done it, so I just wanna see that we gotta get some teeth to fix these things.
I'm not saying we don't, I just wanna make sure that we're not having
Too many?
too many, right?
Well, the other problem is people don't, when you look at the ballot, it just says a change, it doesn't tell you anything. So I would make a recommendation, and I don't know how you wanna do this, but, so we send out notification about tax bills, I think twice a year, right?
Mhm.
And they send out the information in there, all the ordinance changes should be included in that mailing, so people can read the entire language, not just the little blurb that we put on the ballot.
On the June regular town meeting, they get the whole booklet. The
Right.
booklet that you get in the mail that has
Yeah.
all the appendices, all the language. It's the November meetings, special town meetings.
That are the hard ones.
They don't get that flyer mailed to
Yeah,
them.
they have no idea what they're voting on.
So
Yep.
that would be a good situation. to
See it on the ballot, that's a lot of printing.
What I'd like to see too is that the board that's responsible for writing the language, review it before it gets put on there.
It's up to the select board, you don't have.
So that it's legible
select board
and
makes
So that it's
the orders.
legible and understandable. I'm not
Understandable by-
I'm not talking about the selectmen changing something, that's fine, I'm talking about having it written in English so that people can understand it.
Zoning is like a different language, it is. It's very legalese and it has to be very specific.
Did we ever get clarification on if they're putting our votes, like the count on the planning board?
They
count?
refuse that.
Did
Well,
they really?
They didn't fully decide.
Really, I thought they.
There were a couple of select board members that were not in favor, I believe.
Really?
But
Yep.
they didn't vote on it, they don't have to, I guess.
They don't have to vote on it.
Yeah, I think there was a mix in there,
So,
but it was leaning not to.
wow. It's because you're incompetent.
The town attorney did think that as long as it's just a factual statement that you could do it.
Yeah.
Legally, you have to be very careful not to influence the voters.
Well,
That's why
but the
the-
planning
the
board
thing-
recommends, just like the,
Just like the budget committee.
just like the budget committee recommends.
I think there,
Or the selectmen
a couple of the selectmen were
recommend.
saying, well, it's not in our town charter to do that, where it is in the town charter to have the
Right.
selectmen's position on it.
Budget.
But I believe they're appointing a town charter committee, so they could actually add it if they wanted to.
But I don't know if legally it has to be in the charter.
It doesn't, yeah.
But the
I
board
don't,
of selectmen were.
that was what they fell back on, yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, I have taken some of the input from the last workshop we did on the flood ordinance. And focused on just the definition changes that we've talked about to date. One of the questions that was hanging out there was, is there any conflicts with the building code itself? And it brought to my attention that some of the flood rules in the building code were not adopted by the state. IBC rules do not include any flood standards, so the IBC code does not and was not adopted by the state. The national one does
But
include,
the IRC, you mean?
yeah, the IRC does include some flood standards.
Really?
Yeah.
And those are the ones that I put in the
Those are the
package.
ones that might be in conflict then if they did.
Most,
Well, did we adopt, as the town of Wells, didn't we adopt our own which supersedes the state because it's more stringent?
for building
Flood.
codes?
No, for flood.
Oh, flood, yes, we have our own separate flood ordinance.
Yeah, so their only issue might be construction part of it, not heights. And it wouldn't affect the values.
Yeah, no, they mimic, in the IRC, where there's still references to the flood zone areas.
Yeah.
They pretty much mimic the required language from FEMA. There's not many areas where there are any conflicts that jump out. But at our next workshop, that was one of my questions, at the next workshop, do we wanna invite the code office and maybe Bob Foley from the insurance point of things?
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea to have Bob.
And Leah,
I think it's,
and Leah. Cause she's gonna be the one that tells us we can't do it after we have the questions.
well, I think on some items maybe, but I think the bigger item would be to, if we come up with a draft to send it up to Sue Baker, up in the state floodplain management.
Yeah,
office.
she'd be the one to.
Yeah.
So Mike,
She would be the bigger one now, actually.
can we go through it, cause I made some notes on it,
I get a question. So, just in case nobody knows who you are. Is this just so we can delay people after raising their property?
No,
That's the question we still haven't gotten through, is if we're gonna do it
no,
sooner or later, and I'm still sitting here
Still
saying
needs
we
to be
gotta do it
sooner, I
sooner.
mean.
I'll tell you where I come from this, okay?
You wanna do later?
No. Somebody who has already done all the work to their house, okay? That's been flood elevated and spent a lot of money to rebuild it. Now, when he does the first maintenance thing to it, it's gonna be locked in at its value then.
So at that point, we were talking about what was gonna be considered maintenance and what wasn't gonna be considered maintenance.
According to Mike, the state is gonna deny you on
No.
anything that's
No,
maintenance.
there was a whole list we were working on that I thought Mike was gonna go back and got answers.
well, that's why, yeah,
That was from the meeting you
let's go
missed.
through this, cause I think your
If you look at the
questions will be
notes,
answered.
Mike said that some of those things can't be written off.
Yeah, but that's not exactly correct, cause I've done some research
Some of
on it.
those would be tough.
So, let's start with market value. And you've got the bottom one on market value, undertaken within a 10-year period. And say that the value is based on the condition of the structure before the first improvement is undertaken. That's fine, but if you do an improvement and the assessors comes out and reassesses your house and bumps it up 70,000, don't you go with that revised appraisal?
Well, FEMA's very specific on that, it has to be prior to, when you do your renovation.
I guess
So it doesn't go up
Steve's
every
saying is
year.
it should graduate with it.
It should go with
each
it, yeah,
time.
I agree, but But here's the other issue, okay, that I have a hard time with.
No, then you're never gonna get a
Anything you
flood-
need a flood permit for,
You're never
locks your
gonna get a flood
valuation.
permit.
So if you fix your railings on your deck, it locks your valuation.
Yeah, so.
Then that's not right.
But there's an issue in here with the state, and we'll get to it. It says, it doesn't say that everything you do on your property in a flood zone has to have a flood permit. It says it may require for some applications, for some work. So basically what it's saying is, you can do stuff on your property, there's certain items, example, we talked about maintenance items, that may not require a flood permit, although they may require a building permit. And right now, the problem is that everything that you do that requires a building permit requires a flood permit if you're in this zone. And that's not what the law reads. So that's one of the things that needs to be addressed, and I point that out later on in here.
I think that is the way it is though. I think every time you get a building permit on a property that's in a flood zone, you have to get a flood permit.
That's
Is
right.
that what is that what FEMA
That's what they
says?
do.
Is that what
No,
FEMA says?
the state code, which follows FEMA, says some. Some of the permits that you require, some of the building permits may require a flood permit.
So do they say which ones?
They kinda give you a breakout of which ones, let's see if I can find it here. So it's on, let's see,
So I actually have a suggestion. Can we wait till we get code in before we to go through this, because truthfully, I would rather have some expertise as well, sitting here while we're talking about this, because
well,
I have no expertise in this area at all. And I would like to get people that can answer the questions here, rather than keep rehashing the same thing every meeting.
And my knowledge is limited.
Yeah, because one of the things that bothered me is under the market value, that FEMA will most likely reject the values of accessory structures, but on the other side, if you touch accessory structures, they're considered part of your cost.
Well, that was, the accessory structures, I had written it to exempt them
Yep.
completely, and they're exempt from the main dwelling.
Yeah.
They don't get added into that, but they have their own standalone value. So if you had a shed on your property, they're supposed to create a value for that shed. If there's gonna be maintenance or repairs done to it, it will start the clock on that, on those individual accessory
And you're
structures.
gonna take that shed and stick it 4.5 feet in the air? There's no
Yeah,
common sense.
Yeah, it's gotta be flood proof.
No common sense.
under the issues and comments, on the second page there, let's see, we talk about damage to buildings must be included due to any origin. Storm damage versus fire damage, and the reason I bring this up is because this was one of Bob Foley's comments at the selectmen's meeting. Cannot be treated differently. But one of the distinctions that I wanna make, maintenance is not damage. Maintenance is to prevent damage. So, you know, that should be addressed separately. There's also a comment made that, if egress windows and plumbing non-compliance are not violations which receive orders to correct, they are legally non-conforming. In some cases, yes, but in some cases, no. And for example, this is what the code says, is that if in 1990, there was a certain code for stair railings or stair heights, and you built the structure to those codes, but then in 2025, those codes changed. That's correct. You're in a non-conforming, but you legally don't have to change it. But if it was built in 1990 and it didn't conform to the standards in 1990,
Yes, yeah.
then it is not, then it is a code violation and does need to be corrected. So, you know, it's, you can't really paint all that with a broad brush, cause some of this stuff, and unfortunately, you know, even though we had code laws in place,
And some things get done without permits.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could have an illegal apartment in someone's basement.
Yeah.
And if it never got a building permit, then it's in violation.
yeah, and it may be 2 or 3 owners later that finds this out, and so that, you know, that's one of the things why, you know, code violations,
Yeah, not everything's grandfathered, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Like,
So-
we had talked about doing it twofold, where your 10-year item would go as long as you didn't have any damage from storm damage. But if you had storm damage, that was it, you didn't get 10 years, it would locked you in at that point at 50% after that.
Yeah, that's what I investigated that, and specific to FEMA was that you can't, discriminate based on a fire loss or
I'm
storm
not saying a
loss.
fire loss, saying, well, storm loss is what we're trying to stop.
But
So if you
can't-
have a storm loss on the property, then that's it, you should be able to lock that in, say your value of this property is X number of dollars right now. And it starts your clock to the 50%, where if somebody's house has never had storm damage and the FEMA maps happen to be wrong because there's no flooding that they get, that wouldn't hurt that person. And that would be a 10-year deal for them.
It's specific though, and you can't make that difference of what causes the damage, whether it's a fire, whether it's a storm damage, whether something should be renovated. It is specific that you can't differentiate with that.
But on one of the pages, it specifically talks about in flood hazard areas, and it says things can be excluded from it if there is good and sufficient cause to show that the unique characteristics of the topography of the site render the elevation standards of section R 322 inappropriate. So let me just give you an example of this. I think most people know where the Catholic Church is in Wells on Eldridge Road. Okay, the church itself is not in the flood zone. The building itself is not in the flood zone. The parking lot is. Eldridge
See water
Road,
across that parking lot,
Eldridge
yeah.
Road, which has a higher elevation than the finished floor of the church. Eldridge Road is in the floodplain, but the church is not. That would be an example of an incorrect assessment. And in a situation like that, if you have a house sitting on the other side of Eldridge and your elevation is higher than the road and the road is higher than the church, you'd have good cause to not be included in the flood hazard.
And that can be solved with a LOMA, a letter of map amendment, there are
That's-
methodologies.
That's not cheap.
No.
No, that's
And
not
it,
cheap.
it's time consuming.
Plus, you know, down in York, the self-storage facility?
Mhm.
That was in a flood zone,
The one that's up on the hill?
yes. It was $35,000 to get it out.
Across from the Playhouse?
$35,000?
By the time with the Loma and all the
Up
other
on
stuff
the
that
ledge,
went on.
that is up on the ledge.
Yeah, by the time that was all done, it was 35 grand to get it redone.
Now, I was wondering, and I haven't had a chance to talk to anyone in Dunkley. Has anyone talked to them about their reasoning behind, they went with a 5-year reset figure, and I didn't know if anybody.
Because they're trying to help their people.
You can ask them why they do it, but it gets back to the question, do you want properties flood-proof sooner or later? Going to 5 years means they're gonna flood-proof later.
See, I don't.
5 years, you can.
So, yes, but I don't know that I agree with that, because then you run into the law of
Absolutely.
unintended consequences, because if it's gonna cost someone $200,000 to raise their house, you've gotta look at the people on the beach. You have a number of, I think we determined that it was 30% of the houses haven't changed since this FEMA rule went into effect. You have elderly people living on the beach that rent their houses for 2 or 3 months in the summer to pay their taxes. They're not gonna lift their house. I don't care if what you do, it's not gonna happen. What's gonna happen is they won't maintain it. If they have a broken window, they'll tape it up. If they've got a leaky roof, they'll put up buckets. All you're doing is preventing people from doing maintenance, and that's not what the law intended, that's not what FEMA intended.
Nor is it what we want in the town.
Well,
you don't.
maintenance would be one thing, but the other part of it is gonna happen a lot more often, is someone's gonna spend 50 grand to renovate a kitchen instead of raising their house.
Right.
And if they get a reset every 5 years,
I-
they're never gonna raise their house.
I don't believe in 5 years. Again, I believe 10, but then again, I also believe that if they have storm damage, it should lock it in forever. And I don't know why you can't try that. Because
But
we're
there's
doing,
specific language that does.
but still, the state might let you do it.
You state
That's
that
right.
that's
They
FEMA.
might let you do it.
Here's a for instance, okay, and I'm gonna ask this question because I don't know the answer. Okay, there's been a parcel of land that was just sold right on the beach for $4 million. They're gonna build a house,
Yeah, they're gonna elevate it though.
they're gonna elevate it. and the value of that home is gonna be whatever. If that thing gets destroyed in a storm, what happens?
They rebuild it.
Yeah, if they have built it to flood-proofing standards and it still gets damaged, then they can.
Can they build it to whatever it was before?
No, they're gonna meet the new flood elevation.
Yeah,
Right, well, it's
change
gotta
this.
be the new flood
Yeah,
elevation now,
yeah.
because it's starting out at ground zero.
Yeah, so they have rebuild it to the to whatever it is, or whatever they wanna put there again, they just gotta go through DEP if they decide to change the house. They gotta go through DEP anyways, but if they, isn't it if they get destroyed a second time, they can't rebuild, or is it a third time?
No.
I think there's a limit on how many times you can
I
rebuild.
think it used to be that way, I'm not sure that it still is.
FEMA used to put, maybe 3 total losses and they won't give you insurance anymore.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing,
There's a lot of these that's happening to now.
but people don't understand, the max you can get out of FEMA is only $250,000.
What's it do to the
Yeah,
real
there's a
estate?
cap
mean,
on
it's-
the policy.
Yeah. The other thing is that too, that you gotta look at is there are a number of houses that are on the beach that have been there forever. And you know, some of them may have gotten minor damage in the blizzard of '78 or the no-name storm of '91, the perfect storm, whatever. But the you know, they're still there. So I mean, it's not the type of thing that like in Carolina where you're you know.
You're wiping out
Next
houses.
high tide, you're gone.
Yeah.
I think and again, going back to the law of unintended consequences, I think if your whole purpose is to get rid of the summer cottage, the older structures, that's not what in keeping in with the character of the town. And if it's not keeping in with the character of the town, then it's a violation of the comprehensive plan. Because the comprehensive plan is to retain the character of the town. I mean, you look at that picture across the way there. And it's always been a beach community, always been a summer
I
visiting.
can see you in
community.
the picture, Steve.
He's really small.
I'm driving the
He's really
horse.
small.
I thought you were the horse.
So I guess here's my question. Did the state actually adopt this IRC, or is it state running off of?
Well, the state forces all towns to adhere to the IBC and the IRC. But the state had exempted certain sections of it, cause those are big national codes. And
That's why I'm.
some areas, they exempted certain portions of it, like the plumbing code. That's
Yeah, but-
something, the state already had its own plumbing code, so it exempted itself from that portion of those both building codes for that one. And when it came to the IBC, they exempted themselves from the flood standards in the IBC, but they didn't from the IRC.
Right, so the IRC is the ones that are adopted.
For most residential uses, that's what it falls under. IBC is more for the commercial, but.
Well, IBC is only commercial and IRC is residential. But I don't know I haven't read the flood standards in the, I thought that the
They're scattered
towns.
everywhere, they're scattered.
Yeah.
I had the code office try to go through and pick out all but they don't have like one chapter. It's scattered throughout it, so that's what we tried to do with the highlighted portions that were in your packet.
And there's a lot of conflicting information and I think that's the reason that they say that the more stringent code applies, because there is the contrasting information, but then there's also stuff that's not written very well, that, you know, leaves a lot to interpretation.
But it's one shoe fits all is what they're trying to do, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I still would like Lee to tell us whether or not we could do it. Or go to the state and say, hey, this is what we wanna do.
I think this, getting it to the state will be the ultimate.
I think the
decide.
question to the state is, we wanna do this fair for everybody and also take care of, you know, getting things flood elevated. You know, properties that are never damaged by water, it's unfair that they have to elevate, I mean, you're talking a lot of money to elevate a house nowadays, it's not cheap.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're over $100,000 to just pick it up, put a foundation under it.
More like 250 by the time you put in your
2 to 3
access.
is, 2 to 3 is the.
And that's one of the things, we've got a house that we're looking at now to raise. And right now, there's a handicap ramp into it.
Good luck to
So
that.
when you raise it, how do you put the handicap ramp?
You can't.
Yeah,
I know
because
you
you
always do an elevator.
won't meet the setbacks. And
No,
then
you
go
don't
with-
have to.
Go with an elevator and then it's 60 to 100 grand more for an
Yep.
elevator.
Yeah, but you don't have to meet the setbacks for a handicap ramp. There's one right out in front of my house on the beach that doesn't have to meet the setbacks.
Wow.
That's just the ordinance says that, you don't have to meet the setbacks. But after the handicapped person goes, you're supposed to take it out.
Yep.
But that's a hell of a handicap ramp, 6 feet high.
Or even higher. Some of those in the AE zone are up 8-9 feet.
Yeah, that's definitely elevators. Or lifts.
Motion to adjourn.
Joyce? Is there a second? All those in favor? That is unanimous.
At the next meeting, I'll get the code office here.